All right, welcome everybody to a Pitch Perspective interview. I'm your host, Stephen Ramirez, and today I have a very special guest, a birthday guest, Harry Tachian. Welcome, Harry. How you doing today? And happy birthday!
Thank you, Steven. How are you, my guy?
I'm doing phenomenal. You know, it's hot down here in California, which I know you're aware of, but I'm feeling good inside. I do have you for a very specific reason today, a very huge announcement. Um, we started this kind of conversation together 5 years ago with the launch of your club, AS Los Angeles. Big press conference down there. That was a great time. I'm happy to be here again with you 5 years later. You know, your club has grown. Consistent at a great pace with new adjustments over time, multiple leagues, and you've seen a lot of success during that time. And now you're making an even bigger step with the purchase of Valadares Gaia FC. Congratulations on that. And just, how was it in these last 5 years of your growth within soccer?
Thank you. Love having you on, man. You were with me from the first day at that press conference. If I remember, I think you asked me the first question, and since then we've had a great relationship, and so I do really appreciate you and following us and always supporting us. That means a lot to us. One of the main reasons why we are here is because we get great support from people like you. So I really appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun. I can't believe it's been exactly 5 years to date. We did this on July 24th, my birthday, 2018. So there's been a lot of ups and downs. We've had to deal with a lot of hurdles, a huge learning curve, a lot of people in and out, and it's just the business of soccer. And you could say it's just the business irregular, but we've stayed consistent, like you mentioned. I don't know how to gauge success, but for me, the goal's always been and the mission's been to focus on player development, help out the players, identify their their weaknesses, their strengths, and help them grow. And that's been our mission and our goal from day one, and we've stuck to it and we're sticking to it.
Yeah, and you've definitely showed that. I know part of like just starting was big player signing announcements for. I remember Trey Spedding from Canada came in. You also had some local talent, and I would call amateur legends on your team when you started. MPSL, UPSL, regional leagues. You've seen so much success. Um, can you kind of like explain maybe a few of those learning curves before we get into your new venture and how that's helped you?
Sure. I just want to talk about the talent pool that exists, and I and just specifically, we can talk about Southern California itself, and that could give you an idea about how much of a talent pool exists in the USA. Imagine I was looking at a Canadian player like you mentioned, Trey Spedding, uh, and I the reason why I've done what I've done is because a lot of them came to me with questions about where do we go next. We don't have the opportunities. I'm sorry, we're not getting the opportunities. No one's educated about us about what is next. And I think the main purpose of that is we don't have a real structure here in the U.S. Yes, we have the United States Soccer Federation having the MLS, the USL, the NISAs, and all the other regional, but the lack of promotion relegation has really left a lot of amateur soccer players in kind of a limbo. They don't know where to go next. Do we go to school? Which club do we play for? That's going to give us the best opportunity to go pro, right? Because they're not looking to just have fun and stay at that level. They're really looking to go professional, and they don't really know which path to take. Um, and we saw the amount of talent that exists out there, and besides the guys that we've worked with or have come through our club, there's so much talent out there, and and I think they deserve more opportunities. Not just me, but I think there's got to be more opportunities for them to identify how to accomplish their dreams of playing pro. Because if you ask any a soccer player at a high level, or let's say an amateur soccer player at a high level, they're going to say, we our dream is to play pro. So that's our focus. And I've seen a lot of great players, and I'll announce it here. We're sending three players from ASLA to Valadares Gaia to our first team, professional contract. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. So it's out there, it exists, and I hope a lot more people get to do what we're doing, not necessarily owning a pro club, but opening up those doors for players to get that opportunity and go play, and not just send them uh, on trials and state, oh, we send this player. Well, you send them on trial. You didn't really send them to sign a contract. And I think that's I'm upset about a lot of misleading that's going on and exists, and I hope that kind of changes a little bit. We can't eliminate it, that's going to exist, but I hope it kind of changes a little bit.
Well, you're doing steps, and we'll kind of like talk more about that. But you mentioned Valadares and this pro club. Who are they, and how did you find them, and what was kind of that process of selecting them as your club?
They Valadares was founded in 2011. They have a men's and a women's team. They also have a boys and girls academy. Their women's team plays in the first division of the Portuguese professional league. Gaia actually is the third most populous city in Portugal, behind Lisbon and Porto. And I'm sure you've heard of the likes of teams like Benfica, Sporting, and Porto. In the women's first division, we represent the region of Porto. Porto does not have a professional women's club in the league. It's Benfica, Sporting, some of the big names, along with us, Guy that represents Valadares, Guy that represents the Porto region. The men's, we have a first team, a U23 and a U21 that play on a regional level, and our U19 that plays in the Sub Liga 19 second division, which is a pretty prestigious and a good high level for the Sub 19 league. It's a very structured league, again, focusing primarily on pro development. I basically, if you remember from our last interview, I was looking at several teams in southern Spain in the Malaga region. I was very close to getting a deal done over there. Of course, we were right in the middle of COVID at that time, coming out of it as well. And it just happened to be I was in a meeting with all my representatives in Europe. I have a great team in Europe, um, lawyers, accountants, consultants, and there was a gentleman that questioned on the call why I hadn't taken a look at Portugal. And I said, well, look, tell me about it. Convince me, sell me on it. And fair immigration laws in Portugal, not just for players, but for investment purposes. So everything just kind of clicked. I started looking at a few clubs. I kind of fell in love with Valadares because they were so clean, and clean when I say that, they had a great reputation, zero debt. There was no creditors after them, and you see a lot of that in Europe. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, "Well, I could get a team in Europe. I could do this. I can." And I'm like, "Go for it, man. Go for it. Try it." But make sure you investigate, because a lot of these teams won't tell you that, they owe money, and they don't only owe money to creditors, let's say the banks or private lender, but they owe a lot of money to their federation, in ways of like fees and fines and whatever, or they owe a lot of money to FIFA, because of them being fined, through FIFA. Because let's not forget that, all these professional federations on a local level, you can say, or state level, are still governed by FIFA. We did a lot of DD, and we went back and forth. Great relationship with the mayor and governor's office in Gaia and Porto. The Portuguese Federation, very supportive. And 8 months later, basically, after a bunch of paperwork back and forth and a lot of phone calls and late night calls, and interviews, we basically got to this point.
Yeah, and I I think that's awesome. You kind of like speak to the limitations of American soccer, and while they are sanctioned and they do have support of FIFA, there isn't that pro rel aspect to it. And here you've created this global connection with AS Los Angeles, now Valadares. You have a connection with Borussia Dortmund, and you have your connection in Brazil with Sorocaba City FC. So now you've created like this pipeline. You mentioned player development. How do you anticipate to use all these entities together to kind of create a solid organization?
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned it. I like to call it an ecosystem. I put this ecosystem together, and it was not overnight. Definitely not overnight. But I kind of, again, it happened through my learning curve and my experiences. I saw where the gaps were, and I was like, what can I do? I can't save everyone. I'm not a federation. I'm definitely not the U.S. Soccer Federation. I'm not FIFA or anything. But what could I do? Within my limits and boundaries. And everything just happened. It's a lot of conversations. It's a lot of soccer conversation. And Anderson Santos, great partner of mine, was the owner of Sorocaba City FC, which is a football academy based out of Sao Paulo, Brazil. It's not a football team. We're not a football club. Strictly on player development, 15 years old up to 18. We like to say 15, 16, 17. And the focus was to develop these players and identify, a good high level of a player that we can, send out and give them an opportunity in Europe, or any part of the world where they can, either make the jump to the pro level, or the pro development level, the semi-pro level, if you want to say, and take it from there. So it was all about that, and Anderson's been a great partner supporting me at AS Los Angeles, and me coming from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, growing up there, I do want to mention I am Armenian from Lebanon. Grew up in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Went to a private British school there, so I have some relationships in the region, in the Gulf region. And Anderson ended up being in the Emirates, working with the Dubai Sports Council, where they loved his program. Um, that we have in Brazil, and that kind of attracted the likes of Dortmund, and we structured kind of like a strategic partnership with both of them, both the DSC and Dortmund. And when Valadares came about, I basically assigned Anderson as president, and our legal entity took full control of our academy in Brazil. So our focus is that pipeline that we've created. Like I said, the ecosystem of developing players at whichever level they're at, potentially seeing some of those players come to AS Los Angeles, which should add value to the quality of our club at the moment, as well as sending players out to Portugal to play at any level, from our first team, U23, U21, to our U19, and then potentially see them, kind of flourish from there, and kind of move on to better opportunities throughout Europe, including Dortmund, and that's one of our um, alliances, and we look to grow on that. My goal right now in the my next few months, I am doing a capital raise. I've carved out about 10% for friends, family, and business associates, just to have them be a part of it. Be a part of the club, because it's great being excited about what we're doing. But I have this thing that I keep telling people: don't celebrate for me anymore. Let's celebrate with me. Come with me. I'm not asking for much to get people to join in and be a part of it, but let's have a good time. Enjoy it with me. See the what we're doing next. I hope we've created a good track record. Uh, you and that's basically it. Again, it comes down to the players. Honestly, Stephen, I've done this for the players, and I've stuck to it. When I committed to this, part of my life and this plan, soccer plan, um, I went into it knowing what I'm going to be, faced with and dealing with. And this is basically a choice, and we're moving forward.
Well, I definitely love the term ecosystem over organization. I think it really kind of speaks to what you're actually trying to do more than organization would. And we kind of have only like a few examples of these global ecosystems that happen. I can think of Sacramento Republic has one with Reading, Orange County has one with the Rangers, Detroit City has one with either way. But the best part is, here you are, someone who's created an amateur club about player development, and now you've kind of put out these different connections. What has the discussion been like with Dortmund? Have they offered any sort of like visit to play so they can see some ASLA players, some Valadares players? And on the same note, has there been any behind the scenes people, friends that are also in the soccer verse that have kind of asked you about what you're doing?
Oh yeah, everyone's always interested. Everyone's curious. You also get a lot of haters and naysayers, right? Um, and I don't want to say that that's been my motivation, because I honestly have not needed motivation. Saying, not saying too much about being, arrogant or having an ego. It's just in me. When something is in you, you really don't. You need to have passion, not motivation, and the passion is there. But yeah, thanks to my haters and naysayers, they just validated and confirmed, reassured that I was on the right path. That's all they did. It couldn't have been any better. And yes, I've had a lot of people, more. I like to call them more looky loos, more curious, people to see what I'm doing. And a lot of people, including my attorney, usually tells me, "Don't say too much, Harry." And I tell him, well, so what if I say it? They're never going to do it the same way I will do it. They don't have my vision. They're just going to try to copy or think that they're going to be able to do it. And they're not. It's never going to come out the same way I envisioned it. It's my vision. It's my goal. So good luck to them. But you know, I can certainly say that we've I can't really talk about the details, but yes, absolutely. With our strategic partnerships, we're looking. There, there is going to be combines, camps. Obviously, we record a lot of games, and a lot of that's going to get more structured now that we have Valadares. It's going to be required, and just at really at another level, and that's where we're stepping up to. That's what we're gearing up to, because it's not just Dortmund. We have a few other professional clubs from other regions and parts of the world that we're looking to align ourselves with, and it's all in the works to put them in different positions with us. And they're definitely going to be looking at what we potentially have, not just at ASLA, but in the region, in California, and even in the whole continental U.S. And that's what our goal is, and we're aiming towards that. That's our next plans as far as strategic growth and opportunities for players. So a step at a time.
Now you kind of speak to goals. Let's say in the next 2.5 seasons, what are you trying to accomplish? I would say more specifically with Valadares.
100% promotion. We're in the fourth division right now. We've been pretty, stable. Last year we ended up in sixth place, if I'm not mistaken. We ended up in sixth place, and this year we went very aggressive. We hired the likes of Manuel Matias, which is a legendary coach and individual known in Portugal, specifically to help promote teams. He's known for that, and he's a former player. Played on the national team, played on the professional scene in Portugal. Great consulting and sporting directors like the likes of Alvaro Mota, also very well known. So, and then we went out, aligned ourselves with a few great agents that could reach out to key players. And Anderson being there, Anderson is a genius. I call myself a soccer geek. I tell people I'm a soccer geek. But Anderson is a genius, and he's done a great job so far. If you were to look at our roster, which will be out soon, everyone will be seeing it. We kick off our preseason in 5 days on July 29th. And I can send that to you as well, Stephen, if you want to post that. But I do believe we kick off our season on August 20th. And it's very simple. We have our eyes on the third division within the first year right away. We're looking to be very competitive and make that move. And very simply, in the next 5 to 7 years, be in the first division. Very, very, it sounds simple. It's going to be hard, but that is our goal. I mean, we're going to go for it, and I'm going to make sure we fight and we keep doing the things that we need to do, and continue to create opportunities for players while we're adding value to the club. So yeah.
Well, so what you're saying is in July 24th, 2025, we're going to be talking again, and I'm going to be sitting here with a second division club.
I mean, yeah, I'm confident and believe we can do it. Like I said, or else I wouldn't set a 5 to 7 year goal being in the first division. So, we're gonna work hard, and that is the goal. Yes, absolutely. If not 25, I mean, yeah, that would be great to be in the second division before 2026. The next World Cup, but absolutely, yes.
Well, yeah, that's good. And, I think you're going to gain a lot of soccer fans just from the States, especially as your club grows, my new Portuguese club grows, and, we start to see those players. Now, what kind of like message would you have to more owners, club owners, coaches, and the likes for them to maybe start on their own personal journey for something like this?
Um, they got to have a clear vision. First of all, at the ground level with their existing clubs and organization, what is really their mission? Just like ours, our focus was player development right away. And they alignment is very important. I was blessed. I've been blessed. Number one, of having great support of my family, my parents, my wife's family. I have great friends, great business partners that have supported me, and it allowed me to go out there and be able to explore and kind of continue research and grow, right, and come up with more ideas. And so I would say, kind of, be focused on that. Have a plan, and your first plan doesn't have to always work. Like I mentioned earlier, we had our eyes on Spain, and Portugal came out of nowhere, right? So it does happen sometimes, but if you build a strong foundation, you can adapt the same way we're able to adapt to the change of being in Portugal. And lastly, I'd like to say, if you're a club owner or a coach, um, you know pay attention to your players. Your players are everything. I'm not saying babysit your players, because, I'm never one to give 100%, meaning 100% rights to my players. It's got to be 50-50, right? It's got to go both ways. And sometimes it's 80%, 20%, depending on the scenario, right? But you got to also, have good players. I think it's important that players themselves understand the path and the journey. A lot of players don't, and sometimes I gotta stop them and make them realize that they're on the wrong, at least mental path, right?
Yeah.
And that's very important. And as a coach, a club owner, if you're a coach that's not a club owner, of course I have a great relationship with some of my players, because I've coached most of them at ASLA. But it's very important you have that relationship with your players, and I think that will help. That will be the difference. But you have to be ready. You have to be prepared, Stephen. It's not easy. I sleep very little. I do a lot of work. A lot of time away from family. But like I said from the beginning, I committed to this. Just the same way when I ask a player to be committed and dedicated, and we don't get it all the time. It's just the way it is. And it's mainly because you see a lot of players don't have confidence in you. They've been promised a lot. They've been told a lot. And again, no one sat down and told them, like, look, these are your options. And if you want any one of these options, is what I can provide to you. This is what I can give you. This is my and be very truthful and honest with them. And some will recognize that, and some won't, but it's okay. But I think that's my message to owners and coaches. Just do it in the right way. And I've never been one to go after the money. It's never been that. If anything, I've gone after potential investors and my partners, and sitting with them and giving them my vision, and them seeing that what we're doing. And you got to have a track record. You definitely got to have a track record. And a special thank you to most of the leagues. To be honest with you, Stephen, all the leagues that I participate in, from the UPSL, the MPSL, um, NISA, SWPL, Liga Morazon out here locally and regionally in Los Angeles, Cal Champ Sports out in the Valley here in Los Angeles. Amazing owners, commissioners, and I can only thank them for listening to me, and working with me on my growth. And again, it hasn't always been pretty. And they've supported me in whatever times, if it's been financial, or issues with my team, my club, my players, whatever it's been. They've really supported me. So I think it's everybody that's really helped. And you got to be that kind of an owner and coach to understand that it's all together. It's not one against the other. I hear a lot of owners and coaches talk about a league and complain and all that, and I'm like, how hard is it to pick up the phone and just talk to them?
Yeah.
Just talk to them. It's as simple as that. League's not against you. Trust me, the leagues need you as much as you need them. I'm sorry, I'll put it out there. They do, and they'll work with you. And I've been blessed to have good people listen to me and work with me. And I think it goes both ways. Be classy and respect them, and they'll respect you. And that goes in the whole entire ecosystem, from players to coaches to your partners to the leagues and their staff to the referees and all that. And yeah, that's all I can say, man. That's my advice to them.
Yeah, and just to kind of like sum up, you really talk about the passion that kind of like drives your idea, right? Like no one else can have created this like you did, but it also comes with a sense of trust that you've been given to, everyone that works with you, your investors, your players, and everything like that. So when you talk about, the buy-in from the players to the club, it really is 50-50, because you want them to be dedicated. You want them to give it their best go, have that same vision that you have, and they need to know and trust you that the moment they're ready to get to that next level, you're not stopping them and you're moving them along. And this pathway that you've created from your academies to Borussia Dortmund to ASLA, and now this professional club here in Portugal, you've really emphasized that trust. So, before we get out of here, what would you like to communicate to the fans? Is there like a way that we'll be able to watch them in the future? And what should we expect from you and the ecosystem you've created?
Excitement. I mean, we're definitely looking to send a lot more players. We definitely have more opportunities. Of course, as a first team and a professional club, we are limited to how many foreign players we can have on the roster. I'm excited to have as many U.S. based players, and send them out there. But of course, again, we have to be fair and balanced with what we have out there in the region and neighboring continents. However, everyone can follow us on both Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, on our website. Of course, we're doing a lot of. I do believe most of them are getting launched within the next couple of weeks. I do know we have our Instagram up, which is
That's
Valadares
good.
Gaia. You can follow us on there. We also have a women's team. That's a separate account though. Yeah, but you can follow them too. Support them. They're part of our club. But yeah, I mean, most of the information will be through our social media, our website, valadaresgaiafc.com. So you can find info there. Again, I think that's going to be launched in the next couple of weeks. Last I spoke with our marketing and our social media group. So yeah, I'm just be prepared for excitement. Like I said, I'm all about beautiful soccer, passion, intensity. Anybody that's come through ASLA will tell you that we're definitely not lazy. We're not boring. We It might not always be beautiful, but you'll definitely see excitement. I won't say beautiful, but exciting and hardworking. That's what we're all about. We fight like lions, and when we roar, it's not beautiful, man.
Well, Harry, I just want to say thank you for coming on, sharing this announcement with everyone, blessing me with my new favorite Portuguese team. And awesome. Happy birthday, ASLA. And everyone, thank you for watching and have a good night.